Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm coming to you guys today with my Week 1 match in the UBC, the United Battle Championship. I am, of course, the coach of the Baltimore Oriolus, and this week we are taking on Kohona, coach of the Violet City Moltres. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a team builder this week, but I will quickly discuss the team right now. So, first off, we do have an Assault Vest Entei, which is going to be a good Pokemon for countering Charizard. From my opponent, I have a physically defensive Rotom, be a good check for Darmanitan. I have a specially defensive Wish Passing Clefable, it's Wish Protect, Moonblast Ice Beam. That's going to be able to heal up my defensive Pokemon like Entei and like Rotom. I have a specially defensive Bronzong, which is a pretty good counter for Cresselia, for Nidoqueen. It's Pokemon like that. I was also anticipating it doing a lot of work against Pokemon like Latios and Sylveon, which my opponent did not bring this week. I have a Swords Dance Pangoro with Roselli Berry. Pangoro is the Pokemon that I anticipate doing a lot of damage to both Cresselia and Umbreon. If I can break through those two Pokemon, then I really think that my Cloyster is going to be able to do a lot of work. I have a Focus Sash Cloyster with Shell Smash, Icicle Spear, Rock Blast, and also Rapid Spin. I didn't really think I needed the last slot for anything, so I put Rapid Spin on there just in case I was in a kind of a desperate situation and I needed to remove some hazards. So the goal of the team is to kind of dance around his threats, being Darmanitan and Charizard Y, and then use Pangoro to smash through the opponent's team. Entei is also going to be a good Pokemon for weakening his team with Sacred Fire, getting burn damage, things like that. And if I can weaken his team enough where a Cloyster can come in and Shell Smash, I'm going to be in a really good position. So, without further ado, let's hop right into it. So, he does lead off with his Nidoqueen, and I do unfortunately miss the Hydro Pump, but he goes for Toxic Spikes. So, I guess a little bit to talk about here, not to spend so much time just on turn 1, because especially you guys will see this is a pretty long battle. The Hydro Pump miss stinks, but, you know, I don't think it was going to do more than like 75%. It wasn't going to kill the Nidoqueen by any means, but having the Nidoqueen weakened might have made the battle play out differently. Saying something like that, though, is kind of silly, to be quite honest, just because, you know, you can never really know, you can never really say, oh, well, if I had connected on this, then X, Y, and Z things would have happened. You know, it's impossible to make those sorts of judgments, especially on turn 1, so I'm not going to get too worked up about this miss. The thing that's really interesting this turn is the Toxic Spikes. So on my team, I have a lot of Pokemon with that are able to remove hazards, with Cloyster, Excadrill, Braviary, Armaldo. I think there's one more that I'm forgetting. Then I also have Nidoking, which can absorb Toxic Spikes. So I was really quite surprised by this. Unfortunately, Toxic Spikes does a great bit of damage to this team. You know, it doesn't affect Clefable, Rotom, or Bronzong, admittedly, but Entei and Pangoro are two really important Pokemon for me, because they're the main offensive presence that I have in this game. So the fact that they're not going to be able to weaken my opponent's team for as long is really bad. And I do have Cloyster, which can Rapid Spin this away if necessary, but it just completely threw me off guard. I was not expecting Toxic Spikes in this game, just because I could, in theory, so easily remove them. Obviously, with the team I brought, I'm not able to easily remove them, so props to Kohona for identifying that and leading off with the Nidoqueen. So anyway, he's going to go ahead and switch out into Umbreon to take the Hydro Pump. Does a decent amount of damage, honestly. And so I'm going to go ahead and Volt Switch on into Pangoro, because I think I can threaten the Umbreon. I was tempted to click SD here, but instead I just go for Drain Punch. He does switch into Gligar, which is a really nice move, just because Pangoro really can't do anything to that. I'm kind of wishing I had Ice Punch on this Pangoro, but I had Gunk Shot instead for something like Sylveon. So what are you going to do? There's, unfortunately for him, nothing that Gligar can do to Bronzong, so I get up my Stealth Rocks, but he brings in this threat with Charizard. And as you guys can see, he's rocking Substitute, which is really pretty scary, because now I can't do a whole load of damage to him at one turn. I am able to Extreme Speed and break his sub, and then so Here, let me not pause it quite yet. So he goes for the Roost, and I go for Stone Edge, and it brings him down to 6%. So that's a pretty nice amount of damage, obviously. I did the calc afterwards, and even after losing the Flying typing from Roost, Stone Edge had like a 43% chance to kill. So not in our favor to get the kill, but we still had a pretty good shot at doing so. So it stinks a little bit that we missed out on that. Can't complain a whole lot since it wasn't the most probable outcome. But if we could have gotten the kill on that Charizard, it would have completely changed the outcome of this game. It really would have been pretty remarkable. The other thing to note as well is that he's packing Flamethrower and not Fire Blast, so that's actually good for me, just because my Pokemon can live a little longer. And based on the damage, I can deduce that he is modest. So I don't think I'm max speed on this Entei. I saved a little bit on speed and put a little bit into special defense just so I could take these hits a tiny bit better. So as you can see, he goes for Roost, and I hit him with Stone Edge afterwards. If I were to speed tie with him, maybe I could have gotten off that Stone Edge before he lost the Flying typing. So that might have been nice, but as it was, we can't hit for a 4-time super effective Stone Edge. So anyway, he knows that an Extreme Speed can pick him off here, so he's going to swap on out into Gligar, which can take this hit pretty easily. I'm really low on health, and not to pause again and take up too much time, but so I'm at 21% with this Entei here, and that means if he gets up Stealth Rock, I cannot come in with my Entei. I can Wish Pass up into it to get it some more health, which would be really great, so combat the Charizard a little bit better. But if he somehow gets up Rocks, it's just not going to happen. So that's going to end up being a really critical factor in this game, the fact that Entei is already so weak, and there's no way to get him back up to health if Rocks are up. So anyway, I'm going to swap out into Clefable, kind of, with the same thing in mind. I want to try and Wish Pass into something. He goes for Defog, so that way his Charizard can come in for free. So he goes into Darmanitan, and I switch into Rotom. Based on that damage, I can definitely tell that he is banded, but he's not going to be able to kill me in one hit. I want to try and Thunder with the Darmanitan because that'd be really nice, but instead I get it off on the Cresselia, which is actually kind of a bummer. I'd rather try and Toxic this thing, but I'm not able to do that. I bring in Pangoro, which absorbs the Psy Shock really nicely. I set up a Sour Stance here because I really would like to knock off on the Cresselia. But he swaps out. He doesn't have a way to hit me. I thought he would pack Moonblast for Pangoro. That's why I have the Roselli Berry, but he ends up not having that. And Gligar can just completely wall Pangoro. So this Gligar gives me all sorts of problems for the majority of this game. But what are you going to do about it? So brings in Umbreon, because he thinks I'm going to be making a Wish Pass. And so he goes for the Taunt. And the Taunt's a really good move for him. Because it really just cripples my whole strategy. I can't get my walls back up to health if I can't Wish into them. But brings in Nidoqueen, which threatens out Clefable, goes for Rocks. Brings in, so it forces me into Bronzong, but he makes a good switch into Darmanitan so that I can't get up Rocks. Then he goes for U-turn on my Rotom and brings in the monster that is Charizard Y again. And so because the Rocks are up, I can't actually switch into Entei. So my only other option is to try and stall out the Sun with Wish Protect. But he does threaten me again with, whoops, I want to pause here for a moment. Okay, so in this series of plays, we hit Wish with Clefable, got in the Cloyster before the Toxic Spikes went up, brought in Cloyster, got it back up to full health with Wish, and now we're staring down this Nidoqueen with a pretty big threat, honestly. And so there's 3 moves that I can go for here. I can go for Icicle Spear, which I'm not 100% sure of the calc, but probably would do a pretty good amount of damage to this Nidoqueen. I can go for Shell Smash and really threaten his team, or I can go for Rapid Spin and get rid of these hazards, which are really crippling me right now because I can't get my Entei in against Charizard, which is pretty much the only thing I have that can kill it. Didn't want to go for Shell Smash because it's way too early to do that. Umbreon and Cresselia are both basically at full health, so there's nothing I can really do with Cloyster at this point. Even if I kill Nidoqueen, he's just going to bring one of those Mons in, and then Cloyster's going to die. I could have clicked Icicle Spear, but honestly, I didn't anticipate him staying in with Nidoqueen, so I thought this would be a really good opportunity to go for Rapid Spin and get rid of these hazards. But as it was, he ends up staying in and going for an Earth Power. So what are you going to do about that? I end up swapping out just in case he's got like a weird set with Sucker Punch or something like that. In retrospect, he already showed Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes, so in all likelihood, he probably wasn't going to have the Sucker Punch just because he didn't have enough room on the set. But anyway, we get Stealth Rock back up again. We're pretty scared of Charizard, but yeah, he switches out, goes into Darmanitan, goes into Umbreon again. I am going to go for Pain Split, which is really nice, since I can't really Wish Pass against this Umbreon. Being able to get the health up was great. But it turns out he's Heal Bell, so he's going to cure the Paralysis on the Cresselia. He's going to cure the Toxic on the Darmanitan. This Umbreon is just doing all sorts of damage to my team. He goes for a Taunt against Bronzong. Probably should have seen that coming. But, I'm just starting to get a little frustrated at this point because nothing that I can do is working against his team. So anyway, do land a small little Hydro Pump on the Cresselia. I think I'm going to end up Volt Switching into Pangoro here. Just because I need to get damage. Oh, sorry, I go into Bronzong. So I really want to try and land a Toxic here. And so I think that's what I go for. But he swaps out into Gligar. And as you can see, I missed the Toxic. So that really stinks. It matters less because he does have the Heal Bell on the Umbreon. But, Toxic is probably the main way I have of weakening his team at this point. He is able to get rid of the hazards, which is really great for him because Charizard can come in again. And Darmanitan can come in with no problems whatsoever. We get our Rotom in against the Darmanitan, which can't do anything to Rotom. We miss another Hydro Pump, which is, whatever. Wasn't going to do a lot of damage to Umbreon. But we do get a Thunder Wave off on Cresselia again. We're going to Volt Switch out. And what do I... Yeah, so this time I go into Clefable. So, because I know that there's really nothing that Cresselia can do against Clefable, so I want to try and get up a Wish. Brings in Nidoqueen, which is a big threat, of course. Bring in Pangoro. Luckily, he just goes for Rock, so now I'm back up to basically full health with Pangoro. And go back into Bronzong. I'm figuring at this point he's packing Earth Power and probably a Poison move. The Poison move turns out to be Venoshock, which is really great in combination with the Toxic Spikes. But he brings in Charizard again on Bronzong. Bronzong just can't do anything against Charizard, obviously. So I go back into Clefable, and I'm able to go for Protect, try and stall out the Sun a little bit. I go for Wish here, live on 6 HP, which is really nice. I do go for the Protect to try and get back up to full health, and he makes a really nice prediction and goes for Substitute. Really nothing I can do. I could have made a really ballsy play and tried to make an attack move on that turn. But, losing my Clefable would just be too devastating right now. But anyway, so he's behind the sub. I'm still Wish Passing. Fortunately, the sun's not up anymore, so the Flamethrowers are not going to be doing nearly as much damage to my Clefable. And I could just keep on going for this, but, this battle's kind of going nowhere. So I go into Rotom on when I suspect that he's going to be going for Substitute. Goes for Roost. I click Hydro Pump, and I'm able to break the sub, which is really great. Do note that we're on turn 60 and nothing's died on either side, so this battle is already a lot of fun, as you can imagine. Goes into Umbreon because he doesn't want to take a Volt Switch or a Hydro Pump with the Charizard if he can help it. I do go into Pangoro because, again, I think I threaten this Umbreon a little bit, but I believe he's going to go into Gligar again, which is really good for him. I just don't do any damage to this Gligar without any boost. Even with boost, I don't do anything. Ice Punch would have been so great, but I wasn't as scared of the Gligar, to be honest. Perhaps that was a mistake. Maybe I would have been less scared of it if Entei was at better health. But we anticipate him going into Umbreon on our Bronzong, so we make a double into Clefable. I'm thinking that he's going to go into Nidoqueen because he's been going into Nidoqueen the whole game on my Clefable. So I go for Ice Punch or Ice Beam, predicting that, but he stays in with the Umbreon. I finally go for Moonblast, which does a ton of damage, as you can see. So that's why I'm surprised he was staying in the whole time with Umbreon. But now he finally goes into Nidoqueen, and that doesn't take any damage from Moonblast, to be honest. So I can't really do a whole lot except maybe try and stay in. Maybe that was a mistake, but I'm again just getting annoyed at this point because I can't break through his team without Entei. and with a weakened Pangoro. So all I'm doing is just delaying the inevitable at this point. At least that's how I feel. So we're going to go through this whole song and dance again where we try and stall out the Sun turns, go for Protect here, and he's going to make a good play and Substitute. But now the Sun's gone, so he can't do quite as much damage. We switch into Rotom. And now we can go for either Volt Switch or Hydro Pump. He clicks Solar Beam, which is pretty funny, but I just Volt Switch on out of there, so there's nothing he can do. Go into Clefable. It's not going to take any damage from the other Solar Beam, so I think I go for Wish here. I do. And he goes for Flamethrower. I somehow live on 2%, which is really nice, and get back up to a decent amount of HP. I think I Wish here again, but he goes for Substitute. So he's kind of predicted me a lot with this Substitute Roost combination. It's really quite the problem. But, you know, fortunately I'm still at a good amount of HP, and I can eventually break the Substitute. You can see this is a lot of rinse and repeat here. Bring in Rotom. So I'm in a really nice position to go for Hydro Pump. He doesn't have a sub up. He does now, of course. We go for the Thunder Wave, but he, makes a good prediction, not getting hit by that Thunder Wave. I go for Hydro Pump to try and, I go for Full Switch to break the sub. Bring in Clefable, because that's the only other thing that can take a hit. It goes for Flamethrower, and I think I just clicked Moonblast to try and do some damage. Moonblast is actually going to do more than Ice Beam if he roosts, which is why I clicked on that. Go for Wish. I have to protect, or no, I tried to pass into Rotom, because again, that's the only thing that can really do damage to me, and I do think he's going to go for the Substitute. So I've got Rotom back up at full health. I've got some Hydro Pumps and Volt Switches in the back that I can use. Go for Hydro Pump and it misses. So that's actually my third Hydro Pump miss of the match. So it's just getting kind of frustrating at this point, and I miss a fourth Hydro Pump, and I'm like, holy crap. This is just not meant to be. I'm not supposed to miss this win this match. I do finally hit the Hydro Pump, but that's actually my last one. I have no more Hydro Pumps left. So if I could have done anything to this Charizard before, I definitely can't do anything to it now. So I'm just going to Volt Switch, believe back into Clefable. No, I go into Bronzong, because I'm just trying to get off like a Toxic on this point. That's the only way I'm going to be able to beat Charizard. And he's going to be tempted to go for Flamethrower, and he gets a Burn, which is, just kind of the cherry on top of everything. But yeah, I knew that he wouldn't go for a sub against Bronzong, so I just wanted to get off Toxic, because I can eventually kill this thing that way. I go for a Protect. He's going to go for just a Flamethrower here, but I can't live another hit. So I go for a double Protect in case he tries to attack again. But, and also just if I Protect, he can take more damage from Toxic. So he's really close to being dead. I go into Rotom, and he just goes for Flamethrower, kills my Rotom, and finally, the Charizard is dead. But unfortunately, I've lost half my team, and the rest of my team is extremely crippled. I have a 51% Pangoro, a 1% Cloyster, and a 21% Entei. So the Cloyster and the Entei both died of hazards, which he conveniently removes. So, I don't know if that gives me a chance, but at least, gives me the illusion of hope. I go for Shell Smash with Cloyster just in case he does something funny and like swaps out or goes for Roost or something like that. But he makes a good play and just Earthquakes. He realizes the Gligar is not important at this point. So I just come in with Heath Ledger, go for a Sacred Fire, kill the Gligar, get off some good damage on Nidoqueen, get a Burn, which is nice, and then I take myself out with Recoil. So that is the game. And it was 102 turns. I don't think I've ever played a match that was quite so long. But, just the Toxic Spikes and the Stealth Rocks were really killer this game. I wasn't expecting the Toxic Spikes in particular. Once Entei was pretty much removed from the game, I couldn't do anything to Charizard. I couldn't do anything whatsoever. I unfortunately just didn't have a great defensive answer to that on my team, or Darmanitan for that matter. So I tried to make do with what I had, but I think maybe the better strategy next time just would have been to prepare offensive checks to Charizard, and also just try and keep Stealth Rock up on the field. I kept on getting Stealth Rock up with Bronzong, but the problem was Charizard could come in on Bronzong before I could actually get the Stealth Rocks up, so it invited in Charizard every time. at no point did I make a good play to double into, something like Clefable, which could maybe take on the Charizard. If I could have doubled into Entei, I would have done that, but I just didn't, didn't have any health, so it would have died upon entry. So anyway, kind of a frustrating battle, just because it took so long, and I had a couple of key misses with Hydro Pump there at the end. But at the end of the day, you have to give all the credit to Kohona, because he prepared a really great team that I just could not break, and really wore me down with all the hazards and everything. So props to him. Really great battle, and great performance on his part. Really hoping to bounce back next week. We have the Bee's Knees, our friend Adam, as our opponent, and he's got a really great team and a really great record in the league format. So we're going to pull out all the stops next week. We're not going to have a team like we had today, which had limited answers to the main threats. We're really going to try and step it up a notch and try and steal a win from him and get some momentum going in this league. So thank you guys for bearing with me through the long video. Hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to check back for more Pokemon content and also for more battles from the UBC. We will have another match going up next Saturday. So in the meantime, I will see you guys later. Peace.